floor for you.
All right. So
Up here.
I always joke about this every time I have to present for a networking group. There always seems to be a full house, and this is no different. So this is going to be interesting.
Amazing.
I can talk to people, but I have a hard time with presentations. So if I stutter like Porky the Pig, I'm apologizing in advance. So,
you're trying to fit that profile, aren't you?
What?
People are afraid of success? Oh, okay.
Oh, no, it's an autobiography type conversation. I mean, this is an autobiography. This is why I talked to Ivan, and when him and I were talking, I was like, I want this one because I can speak to it up, down, left, right, and upside, backwards kind of thing. So
can you see the book that I'm holding up?
Yeah.
One of the chapters is the imposter syndrome. And I said to Ivan, oh my gosh, I'm in that chapter. Yeah, I can add.
Absolutely. Jump in anytime because I have no problem. Absolutely. So, morning, everybody. I am Thomas from Greater Southwestern Group in Windsor, Ontario. I am also the city leader of Windsor, Essex. I guess that's me in a nutshell there. Today's topic, obviously, like we said, is fear of success. And I wasn't joking when I pretty much said that it's an autobiography. I'm going to give the dirty cold notes of my situation. I guess my idea today was to kind of use that as an opening, and then from there, just open conversation to people who kind of experience it, feel it, or have any thoughts on it. So I started my business when I was still in post-secondary. I just thought I'd do it for fun, for kicks, and grow my way up. Even during job hunting, my first interview, I was told that I was I was overqualified on my first job interview. Don't know how. Hadn't had to work a day in my life, but apparently I was overqualified. There was confidence growing, but again, it went downhill after that. Long story short, a couple of job opportunities were always contract to contract. I think the biggest hit for me was when I left the Windsor area for an opportunity. Part of the IT world, it should be the pinnacle of my career. I should have said, I loved every minute of it. Truth is, just like the company, as soon as I got there, I rolled downhill. There was personal sides going on, the business. So from the knowledge side of my career, it's not that I think about it and I say to myself, what happened there? Personally, I think it was the fact of, I think I was in over my head. I didn't realize just how big of an opportunity this was. The magnitude of the company and what they do. Kind of, I don't think I took it lightly, but I don't think I took it as, I didn't realize it was as big as it was. And then you could see even myself, I had the imposter syndrome because at that point I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. I got to try and do something to keep this job. And my conversations with my management went from, how can we help you, to, it's been 2 years, what the hell are you doing, kind of thing. Like, you could see the change. So I took the hits, and it just kind of beat me up. So long story short, come back home, start working more on the business. And this is where I can really start to test, how I live the business by fear and self-sabotage. So I guess I'm kind of merging the two topics today, so I apologize if I'm rolling them into one. Every time I get a new customer, I reach out to somebody, I talk to them, it goes great, they're confident, they're looking forward to it, they're happy. And then I end up with the situation where after I come home, start working on everything else, I freeze right up. First thing I do, negative self-talk. What are you doing? You're going to screw up. You're not going to get the business. What are you doing wrong? Everything I can do to talk myself out of even pursuing the opportunity. So then if I've said that I'm going to get, in a week, I'll give them a quote. I've spent the week talking myself out of basically doing that quote. Because you're going to screw up, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and what are you doing, and everything. So then, and it's not even just that, it's even, this is where you're all going to be like, what is wrong with you? It's even the invoicing. I can't even bring myself to invoice on closed business sometimes. So I think, well, they're not, I screwed up and they're not going to pay. I've already sold, I literally have shot myself in the foot with the biggest shotgun I could think of. And I do it. Like, how in the cartoons, Bugs Bunny took that, would always shoot Elmer Fudd in the foot. And I just do that every day. Every day I get up and do the same thing. I brought up some of my personal examples to kind of open the floor with conversation, but I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to take this topic today and co-host with Ivan and now co-host with Catherine. And because it resonates. It's something that hits home for me. I have basically spent, I don't know how many years now, screwing myself over because I don't know if it's a fear of success or I just can't get out of my own head, but either which way, I've managed to screw myself over. So
Yeah, you know the book that I'm reading, it says that it's a combination of that imposter syndrome, like you were talking about, Thomas,
mhm.
and self-confidence. And then in a study they did in 2020, they said that 50% of men, 49% of men, and 76% of women, when they get to that middle management area, right? And as a solopreneur, we can basically say that's at least where we are, have this exact same feelings, right? So having the feelings is one thing, right? But allowing it to dictate your business is another, right?
Absolutely.
Like you
I
say,
let
like,
it dictate for, like I said, I've lost track of how many years it's dictated the way I've run my business. So
right, right. Is that
So
anybody else fall into that?
I was just going to say one of the most common reasons we allow our fear of success to hold us back is the overwhelming fear of change. We have a certain comfort in our routine, and we're sometimes we're not very good with allowing that change to happen because unfortunately it puts us in that uncomfortable zone.
Mm,
We're in the unknown and we have no idea what's going to happen next, right? So I think we all face that fear in some extent.
oh yeah.
Some people just have a bigger push behind them than others to kind of get over that hump, because I do the same thing in certain situations as Thomas does, and I know that some days I could just tell myself, okay, that's it, we're not doing that, and we're going to move forward, and just not think about it and just do it, and it works out great. And then other days, like a bulldozer needs to come in and just like rip me out of the cement that I'm in. So
Yeah, yeah.
it all depends.
One of the things too, that I've heard is that it's really is your self-talk, and I'm sure Jackie or Jennifer can respond to this. It's getting those, okay, wait a minute, stop listening to myself because I know better, right? Having tools in your toolkit, as all we always get told, to have like an accomplishment list. So, write down all your accomplishments, all those contracts that you've gotten, Thomas, right? Write them all down, and then you can go, no, look, I've gotten this, 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 and this, right? When you get thank yous, having a happy file, they say it sounds silly, but when you're having a gray day, like we know I've got the sunshine, so that's all I need today, right? But when we get 3 or 4 days of gray weather, being able to look back and go, wow, somebody really appreciated my, you know, my workmanship or my comment or my time, the time I took, something like that. You can see what other people really appreciate, and you go, see, I'm not crazy. I do deserve all these accomplishments. I see, Jackie, you're back on. Do you have anything to add for us?
No, Catherine, you're spot on there. I mean, it really does make a difference, and it really is looking at where your focus is at. And when we spend a lot of time looking at our faults or what we feel are our weaknesses, then that's what tends to grow in our minds, right? It's not actually, our weaknesses aren't getting weaker. We're just focusing on those. So we're allowing those to stop us from moving where we want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So like you're saying, when we focus on the little things, and I mean little things, like I've had a couple of days, I put my hands up, right? I may do this work, but it doesn't mean that I'm not human and I don't have those moments where I want to throw it all out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like toolbox, what's the toolbox? I'm just going to sit here in my crop for a little bit. And that's okay too, but it's looking at, you know, why am I here? What am I attempting to, why am I attempting to stop myself? What is it on the other side that is holding me back? And so, and like I think it was Teresa said, sometimes it is just that change and not knowing if I hit the success, well, then what does that mean? What new pressures come there? What new, you know, experiences am I going to have to step out of my comfort zone for in order to keep growing?
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at it just like little by little, step by step, it doesn't seem so overwhelming. You're not going to get to that stage overnight.
Yeah. And I think those whys, or I guess Jennifer refers to them as the value, your values, is your why, right? Is really, oh, I'm noticing hands. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I was gonna say, Nathan.
Thomas, did you notice that people put their hands up? That's so polite.
I didn't want to interrupt. Everyone was already, but I was going to get in a moment, and I was going to mention it. I just
sorry.
There was still conversation.
Go ahead, Thomas.
No, please, no. I'm not. No, don't worry, Nathan. Go ahead first, and then Jennifer, obviously. So I want to go in proper order here. So.
Thank you, Catherine and Thomas. You guys are wonderful human beings. I was just going to say, like, just to kind of piggyback on sort of the thoughts that were coming from Jackie and Catherine, is that, you know, it's so easy for us to get bogged down in the lack of success, especially in the early stages of a business. Like, I remember when I first started, you know, I was banging out, I don't know, 50 cold calls a day. And if I wasn't cold calling, I was knocking on 40 or 50 doors a day. Like, it was just, and a lot of the time, you know, there's a lot of rejection that comes along with that, right? Either people don't answer, people tell you to take a hike, people hang up on you. Sometimes you get called the odd nasty name. Like, it's so easy to get stuck on those small losses. And then about, I'd say probably a year into my business, I thought to myself, okay, I need to figure out how to focus on the successes, because the more I'm focusing on the losses, the harder it's going to be for me to feel like I got to climb out of a hole. So I started just kind of keeping a little, and I still do this to this day, is I have like an Excel tracker that I use religiously at this point to sort of track, okay, how many people have I talked to today? Because to me, even just having somewhat of a conversation with someone is a win in itself, because now that person knows who I am. How many appointments have I met? How many appointments have I booked? How many what I call meaningful conversations, where I'm actually having a conversation with someone who's starting to tell me a little bit about themselves, or at least progress that relationship in some way. How many new prospects am I putting on my CRM? Like, if I have a new name that I put on this week, right? So to me, when I started focusing on that activity as a way to sort of highlight my wins, and I think somebody said something about a folder for I forget the terminology, was really endearing, but something to just having something on your desk that you can keep track of every single day to continue focusing on the wins and not get bogged down in the losses, to me is it was the key to me avoiding self-sabotage and walking away from this business, you know, years ago.
Yeah. Just to add in, Nathan, you got it. It's those little wins. You know, we always sit with that end goal, that what do you call that, Jackie? The audacious, hairy...
Big, hairy, audacious goal.
That one, yeah. You go at the end of the year. I don't know how
hairy my goals are, but I'll go with it.
At the end of the year, you know, I'm going to make X amount, and I'm taking my family away for a month at a time, and we're going to buy a new house and a new car. And you're going, holy crap, this is a lot of hard work in between point A and point B, right? But
well, I think entrepreneurship in general is like, entrepreneurs have a win-loss record like a mixed martial artist, more so than a boxer, right? You see boxers, you know, like, what's his name? Floyd Mayweather, I don't know what his record is, but it's something like 20 wins, 0 losses, whereas most mixed martial artists have a win-loss record of, you know, 14 wins, 6 losses, right? Like, we're gonna have things in the win and the loss column. It's just a matter of trying to have a few more wins and losses, and that's what sort of progresses the business.
Yeah, and grabbing those little wins and counting them, though, right? Yeah. A lot of times we don't count those little wins to give ourselves that kick in the butt, like you're talking about, having that, no, look, I've been productive today, I've been effective today, right? Yeah.
Jennifer, and then Jackie.
I call it my evidence file. So it's evidence against myself, showing that I can show up. showing that I'm successful, showing that I can make an impact. But what I wanted to say is that some of the best advice, or the most like one of the most impactful aha moments I've had as an entrepreneur, was a webinar I was in. And in this webinar, the gentleman was talking about how the obstacle that we're facing is often our unconscious creating a solution to the problem we didn't know that we needed to identify. So if you're not taking action on something in your business, it's really, really important to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on here? Like looking a little bit deeper. For example, not sending an invoice could mean that you have an unconscious or a subconscious, money block, because that's more income that you have to be responsible for, or you need to, do your books and you don't want to do the books. So there's usually a subconscious reason why we're not willing to take action, or we're physically manifesting something in order to avoid something that we haven't identified yet. So a lot of times we have to look deeper at the reason why we're not doing something, and not just be like, oh, well, I don't like invoicing, or I don't want to do this thing. I found myself avoiding building connection calls in the last couple of weeks because I knew I had a really busy season over the next 3 weeks. And I was starting to like freak out about my calendar being so booked for April. So I stopped going to networking and stopped booking connection calls because I didn't want more calls in my calendar for April. But I need calls to make money to get clients, right? So like, now I'm like, oh, now I'm scrambling because I didn't do these calls or to book these calls. Like, okay, well, we're halfway through, almost at the end of March, and I have no calls this week because I was worried about April. So it starts to build, and we have to look at things just a little bit differently.
Oh, that's good. Good. Amazing. Adam, do you have anything? Because I keep forgetting. I apologize that you're also a coach in there.
Actually, yeah, you know what? While you guys have been talking about this and listening to Thomas and hearing what he said before and talking about wins and losses and focusing on the wins, I think that is massively important. One of the things we need to do as humans, not even just as entrepreneurs, more so as important as entrepreneurs, because we'll fail if we don't do it, is to reprogram our mind to look at wins, to look at opportunities. And when it comes to wins, yes, honoring the small wins is massively important. It's the one thing that can build momentum for us. And that's looking at it on the daily, looking at it on a weekly, taking some time to reflect on those things. And I think a lot of times what we do is it depends on where your mind's at, actually. Not everybody's going to be one way or the other. Some people are already programmed, so you're looking at the wins all the time, you're looking at the opportunities, but other people have been programmed since the time they were children to see things as failure. And I think that's at the root of it's at the root of so much. It's the most important factor in terms of mindset. You have two things that matter. You have your openness to learn and how you look at failure. And that's at the root of so much. Things like perfectionism, things that hold us back on the regular, because the way we look at failure, the way we define, what I'm trying to get at is that the way we define failure is really key. Because if we look at not getting our client from, say, like I'm going to be doing an event later this week. Imagine that, get through that event, no clients, I get no clients for that event. Do I look at it as a failure because I didn't bring any clients on at this particular event? Or do I look at it as learning? Do I look at it as growth? And one thing we can do to help reprogram ourselves for this is to, in every scenario where we think we're failing, when we recognize that we're thinking that we're failing, we're going to feel bad because of that. When we recognize that, we can ask ourselves the question, am I failing or am I learning? Because the truth is whatever's happened has already happened. So the only thing we can do is learn from that. But the thing is, if when things are happening, right, and we're regularly looking at things as failure, then we're going to be deterred from that thing, whatever we think we're going to fail at, and that's what's going to stop us from doing so much. What do you have to say about that, Jackie?
I agree wholeheartedly. If there's one thing in my training that really shifted things for me, was this idea that failure equals feedback. I mean, it all depends on how you want to look at it. You can look at failure as a negative, or you can look at it as exposing areas that you need to learn still and grow from.
Chris, I'm just going to jump in to add to these guys. It's not failure. It's one way of not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So now I've learned, like Adam, using Adam's example, I didn't get any direct clients. Okay, so what can I change before the next show? What have I learned didn't work?
Yes.
So what can I learn to try the next time, right? And see if that works. It's like doing that, what do you call those in media, the A/B tests, Teresa, when you're marketing to see which one people respond to, right? They do it on purpose.
Yeah.
Sorry, Chris.
Yeah.
Chris has his hand up.
I was just going to say a lot of it has to do with attitude too, because if you think of baseball, for example, a 300 hitter makes millions of dollars a year, but he fails 2/3 of the time he goes to the plate. So, you know, how do you look at it?
That's right. If you look at failure as defeating,
I once read that the only way you fail is when you quit. Everything else is a learning experience.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I would love
You
that.
either look at failure as defeating or encouraging, right? So if it's a defeating thing, then you'll always be self-talking yourself. If it's an encouraging thing, you think, okay, how do I change it? How do I move forward? How do I make it better? And then you kind of use that as your learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right, Thomas?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's just it. I mean, it's, I apologize. Yeah. So,
No problem.
no,
Hey,
no,
Steph-
I can add.
Stephanie, feel free to jump in too if you got anything to add. I just saw which Stephanie was in there. Sorry.
What was I just going to say? Oh yeah. I was just going to add that a lot of the time to go back to the idea of fear and how fear can stop us from doing what it is that we want to do. A lot of the time it's because we're creating a story in our head of what we think the outcome is going to be, right? And there is this idea of we focus too much on the outcome versus the little steps that we need to take to get towards that outcome. We're not going from A to Z, we're going A, B, C, D through the motions. And so one thing that you can do is really look at what is the story that you're telling yourself, because I'm telling you, you're making it up, right? It hasn't happened yet. So therefore you're making it up in your head, right? Is literally to stop, take a deep breath and go, how do I want this to turn out? Because again, I always go back to focus. Where is your focus at? If you're focused on what you don't want to have happen, you're attracting that towards you. If you're focused on what you want to have happen, you're putting yourself in the mindset to step into the person that you need to be in order to do the things you need to do to get the outcome you want.
That's very
So just
cool.
change the story. I know it's easier said than done some days.
Yeah.
And
Practice.
if you really sit, you can change the story. John?
Yeah, I was just kind of thinking about this whole topic, and it just brought me back to when we first put our organization together and started hosting events. And like, we really did it almost out like the drop of a hat. It's like we had this idea, we ran with it, and we just, we're kind of flying blind. And at the beginning we were super excited. It's like, oh yeah, this is going to be great, and we're going to do all these amazing things. And then we got to work, and we started finding some success in what we were doing, right? And it brings me back to that thought, like when for us, and I think I might be a lot, it might be like that for a lot of other people as well, is like, it's the fear of success is actually the fear of responsibility, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, once you start having success in your business, well, now you have a responsibility to the people that you're in business with and your clients, right? And the more clients that you get, the more responsibility you have towards those clients. And it's almost a matter of like, I find like you have to prove to yourself over time how great you are at what you do, right? And you have to, go through the motions, and you have to actually deliver, prove to yourself that you can deliver. to kind of overcome that fear, right? So I just feel like potentially it's the fear of success really stems from the fear of the responsibility of your successes.
That's it's funny that you say that, because one of the things is Adam, I think, touched on it, was the perfectionism, right? And so we're always wanting to have that answer and do right, because we have that responsibility to our client, and so we're afraid of dropping the ball somewhere, and then we end up juggling so many balls that we do end up dropping something. And it's so hard to admit it, but just saying that, okay, I'm not really sure, let me look into this and give me X amount of time to get back to you, or see how I can fix this for you, or whatever the case may be. And we think it's going to be the worst thing in the world, but then our clients go, oh, that's awesome, thanks. And you go, it was that easy? Right? It's like, I know I've had defibrillators that have been back ordered since November because of all the different things going on in the globe. Nothing that I have control over. And they keep emailing me going, Catherine, what's the update on our defibrillator? Catherine, it's like, right? And finally, I just started forwarding what I was getting from the distributor, instead of not answering them, or just saying, oh, I'm waiting for the distributor, and they all are waiting still, and it's March. They were okay with that. They said it sucked, but what's anybody going to do about it, right? And I went, oh, I didn't lose those clients or those sales, because they're both really good clients. It's amazing when you just go, sorry, like,
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
And that makes it, that you're right, that makes a big difference. That communication is key when it comes to just even keeping the communication of that relationship. The funny thing is there's two things. So for me, I have no problem telling a customer, let me look into it, because there is so much going on with tech, right? I mean, just everything. I'm not going to assume anything. I always say, let me look into it. Let me make sure, because here's the other thing too, is a lot of times I have a lot more ability when I'm in front of my own computer, not on site. I can either look at things a little bit more clearly on a larger screen, or I can also just go back to my own support staff that I have from my partnerships with vendors. So then they can help me look into it, where I'm not doing it right there in front of the customer, and I'm still sweating bullets because I feel like I'm diffusing a bomb. At the same time, Nathan mentioned the being, the rejections and everything. And I say this all the time, and I'm sure most of you have already heard this. See, I have no problem with the rejection, because it just brings me back to my high school days. So it's really not a big deal. So, so I'm not too worried about the rejection side. So but yeah, I mean, everything here, and I guess I feel a lot better knowing that I'm not the only one, and who's wearing these shoes. It's a lot, it brings a lot more comfort to that. But no, and it's great to hear that at some point or another, everyone's kind of gone through a similar situation, but they've obviously they've either worked it through or working it through and improving themselves. So Chris, go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the books we're reading now, the guy makes a really good point. He says sometimes just good enough is good enough.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be perfect. Somebody once told me when I was making some presentations, they said, you have to remember that in most cases, more than the audience does. So, what is what you know, and what you don't know, you say you can find out. And that's good enough in a lot of cases.
Yeah. Perfect is wonderful, but done is good.
Yeah.
Good
enough gets you done.
Sorry, Jen?
Done is better than perfect.
Done is better. That's how thank you. See, you always need a coach to. And that's another thing, by the way. They said to make sure that you have somebody to lean on, right? And it doesn't have to be you should have a coach anyway. That's hands down. right? No matter what part. And it's funny, you will switch coaches according to what level you're at, right? Even though you're going to always, I find personally anyway, be drawn to the same kind of personalities. But depending on what you need, you'll either go with the person who's going to kick you in the butt, right? The person who's going to be kind to you and go, oh, Catherine, it's okay, you just got to do it, you know, while they're kicking your butt and you don't even realize it. But having just a colleague, somebody other than your spouse, because our spouses don't really give a care. At least mine doesn't. He nods. Maybe I've been married too long, I don't know. But he's got his own life, right? And he understands that the business is mine, and that he knows some of it, but he doesn't get it, right? And having someone to talk to and go, these are my challenges. Doesn't matter if, just because I'm in first aid and CPR and in training, Nathan and I could discuss those kinds of things, or Dave, right? Because we're both going to have the same, like I asked Dave about his mailing marketing that you were doing, right? What did you do in your follow-ups? And that's where, we were able to converse, and I was able to get that information, and I greatly appreciated it, Dave, by the way. It made me feel a lot better to know that I wasn't the only one that people ignored by mail. But if you do the follow-up, right, people are appreciative of it.
We all need someone in our life that can ask us good questions, whether they're a mentor, a colleague, a spouse, a coach, whatever. We all need someone in our life that can ask us those questions that force us to step outside of the situation and take a better look at it. Sorry, Dave, didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no, that's okay. I lost my train of thought by now anyway, so it's... See, I even ignore myself. That way it doesn't hurt as much when other people do it. No, as far as the letters went, like it was all about the follow-up, and it just gave me a reason to call. And you're absolutely right. I could send someone 15 letters and they'll never call me. It's just a reason for me to be able to, hey, did you get what I sent in the mail?
Yeah, and that kind of information made me feel so much better. And it's like, yes, this will work. I just kind of like, I guess Nathan too was talking about his Excel sheet, right? And God, I'm starting to see the wisdom of Excel sheets. That's really friggin' scary in my eyes. But anyway.
I hated Excel 3 years ago, trust me.
Oh, man, I see people coming up with formulas and I went, oh, I don't need to do that, do I? I could just use it as a table and, tabs. That's all I figured out, and that's all I can do on. But that having those wins, right? Like Dave's talking about, I sent out 200 letters. Yeah, nobody got, or one person, I think he said, got back to you. But when I called 20 of them, 10 of them were really interested in talking to me, and I'm going to follow up with 3 more, right? Like that's a friggin' great ratio when you look at those numbers in the long run. So you go, oh, I did accomplish something by, cutting my tongue 199 times, right, on those envelopes. I've lost Thomas. Oh, there you are.
Oh, I'm here.
Everybody keeps moving around on me, and it's like, where'd Thomas go? Don't leave me.
Place.
Oh, yeah, no, for me, everybody keeps moving. Jackie's almost done the whole circuit.
I seem to stay in place. I don't know.
I'm grooving this morning.
Yeah, you're moving and shaking, lady. Yeah, yeah. Thomas, if you don't mind, before we go any further, John Reiser, sorry.
Thanks, Gavin.
You've only been gone.
Hey, you know what?
Years?
No. Everybody says Reiser. Everyone. That's how it's written. It's just pronounced a little different.
Okay.
You got it though. You got it.
But we've known each other for years, and I think this is the second time I've used your last name. Ivan mentioned your full name to me, and I went, "Who's that?" And he goes, "The Expo guy." And I went, "Oh, John." John has got a expo April 28th in London, and it's a huge deal for anybody who was this great city, because John has made a wonderful opportunity for us to stick together as a group, so that, man, London will not know what hit them. So, John, I don't know if you have a couple minutes here, if you wouldn't mind just letting everybody know what you guys are all about and what the opportunity is that you're offering this great city.
Yeah, sure. So essentially, we produce business to business events. We have our first event back from the pandemic coming up in London in April. We've been fortunate enough to have, you know, a great audience, and you know, hundreds of business owners, executives, and entrepreneurs come out to our shows to find solutions for their business. So in April, April 28th in London, we have an event coming up. It's going to be moderately large. It's, you know, somewhere north of 50 exhibitors. We're expecting several hundred, you know, business owners and entrepreneurs out to the show. And essentially, it's just an opportunity for them to meet with, you know, business folks like yourself, and, you know, learn the different types of products and services that are available to them. So first and foremost, I mean, I want to say thank you to Maggie, to Thomas, to Jonathan, to Lisa, to Ivan, Teresa, and yourself, Catherine, as well, for being involved in this upcoming event. I know that that you, Catherine, and Ivan have been involved in probably dozens of events in the past. We've been producing these events since 2014, and you know, I hope I can say that, you know, that certain exhibitors and business people look forward to these events as things that, you know, profitable and enjoyable experiences that they can come out to and take part in. So yeah, we're doing a This Great City aisle at this in particular expo. Anyone who's interested in taking part, you're welcome to join us in that aisle. We have a little bit of exhibitor space that we can free up to bring you in. And further to that, I've set up a promo code, and I'll put that in the chat, just for members of This Great City to get complimentary admission to the show. If you want to make the drive out to London or you're local, come on out. I have set up TGS2022 promo code for complimentary admission to the show.
Awesome. This Great City 2022.
Yep. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Amazing, amazing. Do you have anything else going on at your show this year? I know, because it's just the first one, right? Like any learning opportunities or draws or anything?
We do. So obviously, you know, we always have thousands of dollars worth of door prizes that we're giving away at all these shows. But we do have a couple of seminars going on. One is being put on by a group called Merged. They do a great talk on social media strategies. They're super good. It's tons and tons of value. They've done plenty of you know, workshops and seminars at our expos in the past, and it's one of the seminars that, like, time and time again, people send us emails, say, hey, that was great, you know, can you do more of that at these events? And it's like a full-blown training on just managing your social media presence online, and like different tips and strategies that you can use to maximize your marketing dollars through Facebook and other social media platforms. We do have you know, an IT seminar as well, and a couple local business celebrities we have coming out too, just putting on their regular business groups as well, just more on the mindset and mastermind type stuff.
Right. Is your door prizes all done, or is there any opportunity for us to get involved in the draws as a company?
So we always have, you know, like we gather our door prizes as we go. We got a couple big ones from TELUS this year, nice. Such as a tablet and a couple of smartphones and stuff like that to give away. But one thing that we do is, just as we get a little bit closer to the show, we put a call out to all of our exhibitors, and give them the opportunity to sponsor a door prize for the event. We have some benefits that the exhibitors can take advantage of by doing that. But yeah, you know, they give us a consumer good, and we display those all at the welcome booth. And we're usually up around, you know, $7,000 to $10,000 worth of stuff to give away.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's always fun to get free stuff. So
Yeah, yeah. Cell phones and tablets are great, but I always found that all the other ones, it was books and booze. I don't know how they go together, but they were always really good door prizes. You got all excited about the 3 bottles of wine that you got from the LCBO, or right? Yeah, and the gift card. Yeah. So that's great. That's why I asked, because they've been amazing. And actually, I think one year very at the beginning that I did win, it was a few books and then some extra money to buy books. That from Ivan and Teresa, of all people, right? We were just getting to know each other through John's expos, and I've been going there for, yeah, it's got to be pretty close to the beginning, eh, John? From 2014.
Well, we started in 2014. So I don't know.
Was that the Hamilton, downtown Hamilton?
What was your first show? What was your first show?
Hamilton Convention Center.
That was the first trade show. Hamilton Convention Center. Wow.
I'm officially old. No.
Wow.
Yeah, and do you know what?
Thanks for sticking around, Catherine.
I did get direct business from that, by the way. Michael, go ahead.
So a couple of questions for you, John.
Yeah.
Website for registering, are you gonna put that in the chat for us?
I'll put a link in. Actually, Ivan's just putting up a new one for us as we speak.
Okay.
So I'll have to put a link into our Eventbrite site for now for your complimentary admission. And by the end of the day, we'll have just our new website uploaded. But if anyone's interested in an exhibit, I can put a link for that as well. I have an outside link where you can register for a booth. So I'll go ahead and throw that in the chat as well.
And the other question was, are you doing that Hamilton show in the summertime? Usually you did one in Hamilton over the summertime.
Yeah,
almost every year
with the big post-event reception.
Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking to do Hamilton as well. Right now, I have 2 more confirmed events, which will be Mississauga and Ajax, and there will be a Hamilton event as well too. I just don't know the exact date just yet. It'll be in the summer though.
Yeah, it's always at the back of the mountain, one of those great big venues back there. So,
yeah, I mean, I've gone to. I think I started going to your shows maybe just after Catherine, because that's when I got involved at Freedom, and yeah, I know I've done a couple of those out at the old Ancaster Livestock Exchange, or the fairgrounds, rather.
Fairgrounds, yeah.
And where else have they been? Mississauga one, yeah, I've gone
Carmen's,
to that one a few times. And yeah, Carmen's. So
yeah,
been to a few of them. They're great shows.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming.
You put on a great show, John.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Members, please put your information in the chat window.
I was just writing that in the chat.
What's that?
I was just writing that in the chat.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I know I'm a little slow there, right? And Chantel and Vivian, I'm gonna borrow you, if you don't mind, for a second and just take you in another room and let you know about this great city, and then let you come back before we oh, Chantel, can you just wait a sec? Do you have 3 minutes? Excellent. And let you know what's going on and the opportunities. Thomas, I'm gonna stop talking and give it back to you. Teresa, can you share with me, please, so I can do a breakout room? Or Ivan, whoever you want to call yourself today. Teresa's name with Ivan's picture. Now, is that not scary imagery? Hey, Chris? Yeah, I know. Okay, well, at least she gave me the opportunity. Sorry, I'll stop talking now.
Oh, good. No, I mean, I appreciate it. Does anybody have any final thoughts on any of our topic today, or I don't know if we don't do. Just trying to...
All I was going to say is a lot of this stuff is sort of just do it, and not only just do it, but do it with enthusiasm. You know, like if you're calling people, get yourself in the right frame of mind and be enthusiastic when you call. Like you have some knowledge, you have something that other people need or want. And if you're like, hi, yeah, I'm Mike. Yeah, I'm calling from, you know what? That's how much enthusiasm the people you're calling are going to be. Whereas if you go, hey, I'm Mike and I got this great thing and I want to talk to you about it. And people, oh, okay, I want to know more about that. Your enthusiasm really comes through on the phone.
I'm
Smile.
going to agree. I'm going to agree with that. Yeah, even if you're on the phone, smile, because 7% of your communication is actually the language you use. People will feel your energy. So you can very rarely, if you're in the right headspace with the right intention, you can very rarely muck the words up. And even if you do muck the words up, people aren't hearing the words, they're hearing the intention behind your words. So we get so caught up in wanting to say the right thing all the time. There is no right thing. It's to show up, be present, and be focused on them and wanting to serve them in the best way you know how.
There's a great book by Mel Robbins called 54321, and it's how you get going. So whenever you're afraid to do something, stop right away, go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it. Don't think about it, just count down and do it. And it really works. It sounds silly, but it really works to get you off your butt. Well,
it gets you out of your head and out of your story.
Yeah. And that's the big thing is we spend so much time worrying about what other people think, and it's surprisingly how little they care most of the time.
That is one thing I've come to know, like, that's one thing I've noticed, but I still, and it's funny because I'll notice it, but then yet I walk away from the situation and I go back to old habits and old thoughts where you realize that customers just aren't that, like, you give them what as long as you communicate and still provide what you're going to say you're going to provide. If it's a little bit back and forth off what was initially discussed as far as deadlines, they're usually pretty okay with it as long as you just keep that line of communication going. As soon as that falls apart and that line of communication falls apart, then that's when things can kind of go off the rails, right? But I mean, that's actually that, I appreciate the conversation, and I appreciate it. Everyone's feedback and just topics and comments have just been great, even to help me out as a person who, like I said, it's an autobiography kind of presentation today. So
the other thing is too, is like a lot of people don't want to call people or, go knock on a door, but the thing to remember is you're not calling for someone else. You're not calling because you have to do X number of calls. You're calling because you want to make money. You want to have that client. And guess what? If you're going to go do it, why are you doing it? Well, I'm doing it for me, right? Do it for yourself. Then you'll have the enthusiasm to want to do it.
Well, I think, yes, I agree with that. And staying focused on what you actually have to give and share.
Yep.
Right? That you are bringing value to the person that you're talking to. So yes, it's going to have a direct impact on you and your business and your finances, and staying in that I actually have something of value to share.
The other thing is they're rejecting the idea, not you.
Yeah.
It's not personal. It's not a good time for them.
And actually, on what you just said there, Chris, no means no, not today.
Not right now. Yeah.
It doesn't mean if you call that person back up. When I call people and they say they're not interested, one of the first things I go right away is I'm like, should I call you in a few months? You know what? Maybe 6 months from now. Okay, I'll call you back in 6 months. And then when you call them back in 6 months, they go, wow, you called me back. Well, yeah, you said call you back in 6 months. So I'm going to call you back in 6 months. And you know what? They still might not be ready. So you say, should I call you another 6 months? And you call them again. And you know what? One day they go, okay, I've been putting this off long enough. I got to do this. And you called me 3 times now. So let's get together and do this.
I have just one quick funny story about that. I know somebody that followed up with somebody for 21 years. They've been lifelong friends. They finally decided that it made sense to them after 21 years. I figure that's got to be a record.
Yep.
Yeah, you never know.
No, it's great. No, that yeah, those are some 21 years, that's something else. It's almost like you're chasing down for a marriage or something. I mean, come on.
Now, in honesty, they were friends all the way along, but it's just, they would remind them periodically about Legal Shield. And it just didn't make sense until all of a sudden, at that point, it made sense. And that was it. So it's pretty funny.
Cool. I think that pretty much wraps up today's call. I think that we just switch right over to the lounge, if I'm not mistaken, for members.
Teresa, have a great week, everybody. I have to run. I'll see you next week. Or those who are coming tomorrow to see Good Sauce, I'll see you there.